up, everyone? My name is Joshua Guerrero. Welcome to the In Review Cast. I can see you. You can see me now. This is a video, obviously, and an audio. If you're listening to just the audio, we'll keep that going, of course. Been a while, about a month since I uploaded a video. The reason for that being that I wanted to get this video thing going, and I just took a little bit longer than I thought I would. But that's fine. There's no expectations here, guys. No expectations here. We're just going out and we're doing it, starting. That's all we can do. Um, I watched all the Oscar Best Picture nominees over the past month. Sadly, the Lynchathon does not continue today. Uh, we'll get into that at some other time. But today we're gonna go into the Oscar Best Picture nominees. We got 10 movies to review today, so gonna try to keep them all not short, but try to keep it tight. So I want to keep this in about an hour. Um, so yeah, let's do that. Let's jump into that. We're gonna go alphabetical order. First, we got Nora. First review today. With the Nora, I want to say I was pretty apprehensive at first. I had seen quite a few clips online, and I wasn't necessarily impressed with what I was seeing. I Not necessarily that I didn't like what I was seeing. I was just like I felt that it was overhyped from what I saw. I was like, this doesn't look. People are saying this is the best movie of the year. This is before, of course, the Oscars. People were like, this is the best movie of the year, and I just wasn't necessarily seeing that. And but I was like, you know what? Of course, as I go into anything, we'll go in with an open mind. Hopefully, it exceeds my expectations. And I can be honest and say that I was absolutely uh blown away by what I saw here. I mean, it wasn't the most amazing movie of all time, of course. I'm not gonna say it was, but it was really good, especially like the ending. Like I was completely caught off guard by that. I don't want to do too much spoilers for any of these really, because I think everyone should watch all of these. Well, I'll tell you which ones I think you should watch. You should definitely watch Anora. This was a really good movie. Uh, What's funny is with Igor and Anora, the whole time I kind of felt some sort of like sexual tension going on, and I was floored at the end when like what happened happened. I was like, I called it, damn it! But I was then suddenly rug pulled because I was like, oh, that's not what I thought it was. So yeah, I thought that was I thought it was beautiful. I thought the ending was beautifully tragic. Really beautiful ending to that movie. In a sense that it was a nice culmination of her character. You get to the end and you see that she really only sees herself as an object. She only really views herself for what she can give other people. She has something nice happen to her, and you know, instead of just being like, "Oh, thank you, I really appreciate that," she feels like she has to do something for the person, and the only thing that she can give is herself, and that's really sad. But I do think that uh, at the end of the day, it was still really good, a really good explanation of her character there at the end, and it kind of leaves you with a hope of like, okay, maybe from this point, she can learn to love herself in a different way. Um, Another thing about this movie is I just could not stand the boyfriend character, husband character, whatever. I can't even remember his name. I could not stand him. I was like, I don't see it when she was like in love with him and they had the scene after they got married, and it just felt all beautiful and whatnot. I was like, I just don't see it. I don't like him. I felt dignified at the end not to like him. I'll say that. Uh, but still, I did not like him and care for him at all. And I was like, dude, am I stupid? Am I the dumb one here? Like, turns out I wasn't. Was not. Um, Something that was really fun about this was the banter between the henchman Igor and other guy, the guy that has a freaking concussion throughout most of the movie. I loved their little banter and interactions together. I thought that was great. Um, it was kind of comical even like the way they were bouncing off each other, all of them, and then the I think it was Taurus or whatever, Toras. I can't remember his name exactly. The preacher dude, well the godfather of the main husband dude. Their whole thing was so like it felt classic. It was classically comical. Almost felt like you're watching the Three Stooges or something. Like it was really funny. Um, Overall, very solid film. Wasn't my personal pick for Best Picture. I'll tell you which one it was later on, but still, I think one of my favorites of the year. Understandable that it won Best Picture. I understand there's not just it's not just which one is the best. It's also a popularity contest, of course, like any awards are. So with that being said, I give it an 8 out of 10. It was a really good movie. Next, we're getting into The Brutalist. Um, I I was not a huge fan of this at all. Um, it was okay. It was serviceable for what it was doing. It, was trying to tell the story of this guy coming into America during World War II and starting his life and living the American dream. And, it did all those things. So that's why I say it was serviceable. Brody, he did good acting, I think. He I think out of all the list of the best actor nominees, I think he might have deserved it. I haven't seen The Apprentice and I haven't seen Sing Sing, so I'm not 100% positive on that. I will say he was better than Timothy Chalamet and Complete Unknown. I'll get into that one actually next, but that being said, I did like the movie for what it was. I think there was some really nice parts to it. The biggest thing that really like killed me for this movie was the runtime. It was nearly 4 hours, and it was so long that it had an intermission. I thought the intermission was a little like overdoing it. Like we didn't need that. I didn't need the intermission. Could have just kept on going. That added like 2 minutes to the runtime. I mean, it was fine. I think, like I said, there was some cool things. I think there was some really good cinematography here, some really amazingly beautiful shots. I will give it that. Like especially that shot of the Statue of Liberty upside down. Like it really felt like, oh, so he's gonna flip the American dream, you know? That's what it felt like for me. And so that being said, uh, I really liked that part of it. But like I said, it just felt very bloated to me. And I'll be honest, it kind of felt like Oscar bait. Like it felt like this movie was made to win the Oscar. And I felt that. I don't know if that was just me. Could be just me. That's fine. But that's my opinion. I felt like it was Oscar bait. So, um, it was a great concept, very much an epic movie, an epic tale. Um, but I feel like, maybe an hour or so could have been cut from it and it would have been just fine. I don't think it would have affected the movie as a whole. I think it would have been a-okay, about an hour cut. I'm not sure where exactly that hour could have been cut, but there was plenty of stuff where I'm just like, I don't need to be watching this whole thing right now. Um, like I said, just a little too long for my taste. I mean, so freaking long. There was a damn intermission for Christ's sake. I mean, what can you say? I'm not saying that movies don't need to be that long. I'm saying, or I'm not saying that they can't be that long. Obviously, you need to tell the story you're trying to tell. So, however long it needs to be is how long it needs to be. But I just felt like this story could have been told under 3 hours. Maybe even at 3 hours. That would have been different. But nearly 4 hours, way too long for my taste. That being said, I give it about a 5 out of 10. It was serviceable. It wasn't a bad movie. It just I felt like it was too long, and yeah, I mean that's all it is. It was good. 5 out of 10. Next, we're getting into A Complete Unknown. Complete Unknown. Hold on, let me do that. It's about Bob Dylan. The story of Bob Dylan, specifically from the based off the book Dylan Goes Electric, which I'm guessing is from about his journey from being folk singer to getting into more not electronic, but electric guitar, rock music, sound that he eventually does go into. And so that's what this movie was about. I will say I think Timothy Chalamet did a great job as Bob Dylan. I really felt like he became Bob Dylan. There's not a lot of movies with Timothy Chalamet where he really slips into a character. I think a lot of times it feels like it is Timothy Chalamet and he's acting. You feel that a lot. But as I was watching this, I kind of just got lost in it. The only other role that he did that I feel like kind of compares to that to me would be Wonka. I felt like in that movie he also like slipped into Wonka and became Wonka, and not just Timothy Chalamet playing a character. This is another movie that I think did that, and he did it really well. Um, do, 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 do. Okay, yeah, yeah. Something that just wasn't really there for me was the story itself. I didn't really feel like I learned anything about Bob Dylan or his life from this. If anything, I felt like I had more questions at the end of it. Like, why did he do these things? Why did he lie to all these people about who he was? Why did, you know, what made him into the person that he is when we see him on the screen? And none of those questions really get answered. And for me, that was kind of a letdown. I kind of felt like we should have got more. I know it's based off a book, and of course, you have to go what the uh, the source material is talking about. And I haven't read the book, so I don't know how much detail the book goes into itself. But I just felt like there could have been more detail on his life that we just didn't get here. Um, I and far as direction, I really feel like Mangold has done better at the same thing. Um, I think Walk the Line is one of the greatest biopic movies of all time, if not the best. And same guy, he just kind of dropped the ball here. I feel like. I mean, it was well made. That's another thing where I can't say it wasn't well made. Of course, it was well made. I mean, it's up for Best Picture for a reason. It was well made. I just feel like it was lacking in certain areas, specifically the story. Um, Something I thought that was funny at the end of the movie, like the antagonist is like the want of not the want of Bob Dylan to not become a rock musician, like to the point where the people who run this festival that he's playing at, I mean, they go to these extreme lengths to not get him to play this music. I mean, you see them like punching people out, um, tearing cords off stuff, like doing all these crazy things. Like it almost felt like something we've seen before. You know, like like that 50s type. Oh, we gotta stop him. We gotta stop him. And I thought it was kind of funny. Like it just kind of made me laugh because all it was him playing the music, and maybe in real life it was that dramatic. I don't know. I wasn't there, but it was just in the movie like that drama coming from that just didn't feel all that amazing to me. But um, that being said, I really like Chalamet's performance in here. I think that for me that was kind of the only thing keeping it all together. He uh, he carried this movie far more than I think he's almost carried anything else. The only thing, I mean, obviously there's another movie of his I'm about to review in a few minutes, but he did really good at this one, and carrying it, he just kind of, he elevated the picture as much as he could, and I think, if the other aspects had come together for him, I think this could have been Best Picture, but in my opinion, they just didn't come together. Um, but yeah, he did a great job. Perhaps he deserves a Best Actor win for this. I don't know. Um, I will say Brody also really disappeared into that character completely. I mean, it's kind of hard to say. Timothy Chalamet is playing Bob Dylan, so we have something to compare his performance to when you see clips of Bob Dylan from that time period. But when you see, Brody, he's not playing a specific person. He's playing the character in the movie, and he does it so well. I mean, really, really does. Like he really disappeared into that just as much as Timothy disappeared into Bob Dylan. Pause. But yeah, it wasn't the best picture though. Definitely wasn't the best picture. Still, I liked it, but another 5 out of 10 for me. Next we'll be getting into Conclave. Conclave is a film about um the aftermath of Pope's death and them coming together, all the cardinals coming together to vote for their next pope. Starring Ralph Fiennes. He plays like they call him the dean in the movie. He is kind of in charge of the whole conclave and the whole voting process, and at the same time, I know they a lot throughout the movie they say he doesn't want to be the pope, but I think it does kind of point to him wanting to be the pope a few times. But that being said, uh, I actually watched this movie last because I was not excited about it at all. I knew it was about the pope and stuff, and I just was like, a religious movie. I'm not sure if I'm excited for it. You know, I'm not huge on movies about religion, but it really wasn't about that. It was obviously completely about the Catholic religion, but it wasn't like a shoving religion down your throat kind of movie. It was it was just telling this story. And I was actually kind of surprised when I had because I hadn't really seen anything from it. I'd seen a couple clips, but all of them were in the context of they were like in the church or doing something in the church. And so I actually thought this movie took place like years and years ago, like it was an older setting. Come to find out, it was a modern setting. So it's kind of funny you're seeing cardinals like scrolling on their iPhones and stuff, probably watching TikToks or some crap. I thought that was funny. I feel like all the actors did a really good job here. Let me check something. Okay, making sure I was still filming. Um, I really think all the actors did a really good job here. I was surprised by how stacked this cast actually was. You got Ralph Fiennes, John Lithgow, Stanley Tucci, all in one movie, kind of playing off each other. I wasn't expecting to like this as much as I did, if I'm being honest. I thought that it would bore the crap out of me, and I would just be watching these dudes trying to pick the next vote. But these three actors come together, and it's like a master class of acting, and so I couldn't help but be enthralled by what I was watching. It was really really good. Surprised none of these guys were up for that Oscar. I don't know. Maybe Ralph Fiennes was. I don't remember. I don't remember the exact list, but um, I think they all did such an amazing job. Um, what's funny is that like it was not really the longest picture, but it was on the longer side as far as it was about over. I think it was over 2.5 hours. I didn't really feel the runtime at all. Like it literally like captured me, and I was just into the story. I was completely surprised by that. I did not think I was gonna like that as much as I did. Um, I will say at the end, I didn't really care for the twist. For one, as soon as the character that was picked was introduced, I was already positive that was who they were gonna pick. It wasn't a surprise to me. Well, I guess what was surprising to me was how he got to that point, because it's kind of like a zero to hero type moment. But and I will say that the elevation of that character to where he is didn't really feel genuine either. It's kind of like instead of him being picked for his own like merit, it's like he was picked because they didn't like the other guy that they wanted that was gonna win. And I was just like, I don't know. It didn't feel all that genuine to me. Uh, let's see here. Okay, we're going along pretty good. It was also there was some really great shots in this, really great cinematography. Specifically, I'm thinking about the scene with the umbrellas where when you're in that top-down view of the Cardinals walking around the fountain and they all got their umbrella out, and it's just such a beautiful shot. I really thought that was great. Um, some other great stuff in here, like the bomb. When that happened, I was so into it that I was like, "What the fuck?" I did not see that happening at all, but then it did, and I thought that was really great. Um, overall, I think that's pretty much all I have for that movie. It was really good. I liked it way more than I thought. I was completely expecting to be bored, only to be surprised by how much I was actually like enticed. Really, really good film. I'm gonna give that one a 7 out of 10. You know, definitely better than the last two. Not quite as good as Anora. That movie, like literally, like had you on the edge of your seat throughout the whole thing. You had no idea what was about to happen. This one, you know, you're just into the story and you're following along, and it is very interesting. Uh, Next we will be getting into Dune Part Two. Um, I actually didn't rewatch this movie for this because I had already seen this when it came out uh, in theaters, and saw it again when it came out like on streaming and stuff. I watched it, so I've already seen this movie twice. I didn't really need to go back and watch it again. But I really love this film. I love the Dune story. I think, I talked about that when I did my other Dune from the 1980s review by the David Lynch Dune. I talked about that, how much I really just love the story of Dune. I read the books for this movie. Like I was really excited by it. Um, sorry. And I really think there are so many great aspects of this. You get into the direction, the cinematography, which is all beautiful. It's Denis Villeneuve. He does a really amazing job here. He has this track record of doing these movies, these sci-fi movies, and just having these crazy landscapes, crazy set pieces, and it all just looks so real and good. I will say I think Timothy carries this as far as acting really hard, which is kind of crazy because this is before, um, not really before he was considered a serious actor, but for me at least, seeing him in Dune Part Two really elevated him into that. Oh, this is a real actor here. He can carry a film. Cause I mean, I had seen Wonka, and like I said, I liked how the character acting in that. I thought that was great, but this was really just different. Like it wasn't, it wasn't a character because obviously, uh, Paul is a character in a book, so you don't really have a lot to go off of him, like how he would sound or how he would be talking. I mean, no, they do portray him as a leader, so obviously he has that leader quality. You can hear the bird. Bird is still here, guys. He's not going anywhere. Um, you can't see him on camera, I don't think. Oh no, you can. You can see him. Okay, yeah, all right. But yeah, he doesn't have a lot to go off on there, so it really is him making this character his own, and I think he does a really great job at that. He does it so differently from the guy from the old. I can't remember his name. McLaughlin. Uh, I can't remember his full name, but from the original Dune, the David Lynch Dune, he does it completely different. Um, in the original Dune, he's much more regal, I think, and in this one, they don't really have that regalness to the whole setting either. Like, I know it's kind of supposed to be like a Game of Thrones in space type of thing. Game of Thrones obviously was based off Dune somewhat, but it doesn't really go for that here. He more just feels like an underdog, and he really captures that, like, especially because for the fact that you get the time to sit with this, like you get the first part and it ends with the fall of the Atreides house, and so you come into this one and he really is an underdog. He's starting from the bottom and he crawls his way to the top through the I almost wanted to say sand people. I can't remember their names. The Fremen of coming through their society and their culture, and he becomes the Lisan al Gaib, Muad'Dib, all that. He becomes all these things, and you really feel like he earns it. In the old one, they didn't have the time to sit with that and to make it possible, to make it feel so natural. And this one, it just feels so natural, and I really think the rest of the cast does a good job at that too. Zendaya, she plays her part so well. I know she doesn't have a lot to do per se, like her character doesn't do that much. Even in the book, she doesn't really do that much. She's obviously just a almost a vehicle for Paul's character. But Zendaya, she does a great job just letting Paul grow with her. You feel the growth. And then the other characters, God, I cannot remember their names. I should be more prepared, but it's been a while since I saw this. Like I said, but maybe I should have rewatched it. But uh yeah, they all just lend themselves to Timothy Chalamet playing Paul and seeing his growth and his rise. Um, so yeah, that ability that he had to make a two-parter, that was genius, giving him that time to flesh it out. Austin Butler is another standout from this. I mean, he just completely takes that character, does his own thing with it. I like Austin Butler. I've liked him in everything that I've seen him in so far, and this was no exception. He really just blows this out of the park too. Um, Da, da, da. Oh yes, yes. The last scene, the duel scene where they storm the castle or whatever the building, and they got the emperor there, and Timothy Chalamet does his um his acting here. He's like screaming, and he just so commanding, and then finally the actual duel itself. I mean, honestly, just great filmmaking, great acting, everything all together was so beautiful. Um, Simply amazing. Overall, I really love this film. Still one of my favorites of the year. Uh, no qualms with it at all. 10 out of 10 film for me, absolutely. Next, we'll be getting into Amelia Perez. I'm gonna go out and say this is not a movie that you need to watch. Maybe you need to watch it so you can get your own opinions of it. That's fine. Um, it's not gonna make or break your life. It's not gonna. You're not gonna walk away from Amelia Perez feeling like you learned something or feeling like you changed as a person. Definitely not. And I tried to go into this movie with a positive outlook because to me, when I was seeing them talk about it online, people were coming at it in all these different aspects, and I'm like, they have to just be being hard on this film. Like, there's no way that it's that bad. You know what I mean? Like, there's no way it's just. Oh, hang on. Let me play with this. Okay. Yeah. There's no way that it's just that bad. But really, it kind of was that bad. Um, it felt like, you know, like they didn't know what they were doing, what they wanted to do. Um, I really hoped that maybe even the songs would be memorable. I like musicals, I do. I will walk away from a musical singing the songs. This one, I did not walk away singing any of the songs except for Penis and Vagina. That's the only one that I remember, and that's because there's memes of it all over the place. And that probably is the worst song on the movie, but it's the only one that actually has anything memorable about it. None of the other songs are really that good. Um, Even the one that they had for what best original song, that was not great either. I just really did not like this movie. Like I was very disappointed that this movie is even nominated. I can't even believe it was nominated for me. And I was talking to my wife about this. And we kind of share this opinion. We both feel like the nomination was like a handout to LGBT people. Like it was like Hollywood saying, "Oh, we like you. We like you so much. This movie's about you guys. We're gonna nominate you. You could win Best Picture. You could win all these awards because we like you." And that's not what the and that's that popularity contest thing going again. And I just don't care for that. That's not what I'm watching the movie for. And even still, it wasn't even that. Like the popularity this movie has to just be like fabricated. Like there's just no way people are watching this and being like, "Oh yeah, this is the best movie right here. This is it. This is the best one." You hear the songs? Loved it. Just I don't see how that was even possible. Um, I can't think of a single thing I really liked about this movie. None of the characters captured me. None of the acting performances were all that great. I mean, Zoe Saldana, she carries the movie fine. She's a good actress. Of course, she's gonna act her butt off and do a good job. That wasn't the issue here. It was every single other thing. Like the cinematography wasn't even all that great here. I've seen better musicals shot better. I mean, just off the top of my head, you got In the Heights, the guy who did Crazy Rich Asians directed that, and he did an amazing job here. I mean, this is just almost like like spitting in the face of people who like musicals and movies in general. This was not great, guys. I really cannot express how much I didn't really care for this movie. All in all, just boring, hot mess of a film, with really nothing going for it. Cannot even believe it was nominated. Um, I really hoped it would be better though. I honestly went into this with the hopes of people are just being hard on it. People are being racist. People are being sexist. People are being homophobic. But no, it just wasn't good. And I'm none of those things. It wasn't good. 3 out of 10. Absolutely, just not a great movie. Um, I would give it lower if I didn't think there were worse movies out there. You know, Definitely the lowest on the list. Absolutely. Next we get into I'm Still Here, which is another foreign film. Um, and the greatness of this film really just goes to show that Amelia Perez is that bad. Like it's still. Let's go. We're going back to Amelia Perez when we talk about this because they are both nominated for best foreign film. I think this one actually won, uh, deservedly so. Amelia Perez just has no candle, holds no candles to this. I knew nothing about this. I'm Still Here is about. I didn't even tell you what Amelia Perez was about. I just was dogging on it the whole time. It's about. We'll come back. It's about a gangster who who's transgender and hires Zoe Saldana character, a lawyer, to help him transition, escape from his life, and then later on create a foundation to help people who were murdered by gang members. That's what that movie is about. And it just we'll move on. I just want to tell you what it was about, so you know, at least you believe I watched it, right? But back into I'm Still Here. This movie is based on a true story. It is about um, Brazilian dictatorship and one of the most famous. I don't want to say characters, but one of the most famous people and incidents during the dictatorship, which was the murder of Rubens Paiva. He uh, he was a former congressman in Brazil who ended up getting ousted and exiled. Comes back. Is not really involved in politics per se. Mostly just behind the scenes kind of stuff, like friends with politicians, whatnot, or maybe friends with people who were against the regime that they were living in. And this is about what happens, or the aftermath, well, kind of the aftermath, most of the aftermath of him being murdered by the government, tortured and murdered. Um, it's based off a book written by his son, Marcelo Paiva, Marcelo Rubens Paiva, and he tells about his mom's journey trying to get the government to admit that they murdered his father, which is what most of this movie is about. When I say about a good half to a third of it is about that. You really get the beginning part of, establishing the family. And something about this movie is the acting is so good in this. It felt like a real, genuine family. I don't know if that's from what they had from the book, or if it's just from the director, or if it's just the actors who just melded that well together. Either way, I mean, it feels so real. Um, I didn't know anything about the backstory of this. I did, some research afterwards because I was really, really, I was into it a lot. Um, the dad character, Rubens Paiva, I could tell almost immediately that something bad was going to happen to him and he was not going to make it to this movie because of how good of a dad he was, and that has to be from the way that his son talks about him and his wife fought so hard for him. It's really sweet, really, really genuine story. Um, this movie was just great, all around great film. I didn't really know, like I said, I didn't know the story that this was based off of. Um, the acting was great. Oh, the mom carried this movie so well. I can't remember her name right now, but her actress did such an amazing job. I mean, you really felt the desperation for her to want to, you know, not avenge, but to get justice for her husband, and the strength that she had to have for her family. You think about the scene where they're taking a picture for the newspaper or whatever, and they're talking about how her husband was murdered, and they're telling her they don't want the family to smile, they want the family to seem sad. When of course they're sad, they miss their father, their husband, but her and her family, specifically with her guidance, are so strong that they come together for each other in a way that it's really really beautiful. Um, then you get to the end, you have a few time jumps, in the end. Uh, in the last scene of the movie, her character is actually played by the actress's mother, and they look so much alike that you really could have told me it was her in some makeup, and I would 100% believed you. Like that's how much they looked alike. I thought that was really amazing, and her mom's acting in that last few minutes of the movie, she has Alzheimer's, so I mean that character has Alzheimer's, so she doesn't speak, and the scene that happens, I mean, just in her facial acting, it's just so captivating. It's tear jerking. It's amazing. Really, really good. I was completely blown away by what I saw here. I did not know I was gonna like this movie as much as I did either. Really, really solid film. Yeah, and it seems like a lot of these, just to jump back, a lot of these films, I had no idea what I was getting into when I started watching them. But the ones that I had no idea about, I mean, a lot of times they're the ones that were the best to me. Um, no complaints overall here. Everything was pretty good. If I was anything, it might have lacked in cinematography a little bit, but I mean, there was still some amazing shots in this film. Absolutely. Very surprised by how much I liked this. 7 out of 10. 7 out of 10 movie for me. Really, really good. Really liked this. Uh, Next, we're getting into, I'm just gonna say this now, my favorite movie of the year, Nickel Boys. There's another one I had no idea about. This is about follows this kid named Elwood. He's got a lot going for him. He's really smart. This is set during the civil rights movement in America, and so you see a lot of these like freedom fighter characters like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X. You see him a few times, mostly Martin Luther King though. And Elwood is inspired by Martin Luther King, of course. He wants to do good in his life. He uh, he ends up getting accepted in, well, not really accepted, but he ends up trying to go to this college, right? He's walking to the college where when he gets into the car with somebody who he doesn't know, like trying to get a ride, turns out this guy is a criminal, and Elwood gets sent to this reform school called the Nickel Academy, where he meets this kid named Foster, and it's mostly about their friendship and them trying to navigate this crazy, racist, terrible reform school that they're in. Um, I don't know how much of it is actually based off anything real. I think that it was mostly fictional, historical fiction. But something that it really reminded me of, which happened locally, was I want to say it was the let me Google this before I ruin this historical idea. Sugarland. It has to do with Sugarland. Sugarland 90, the Sugarland 95, 99. Is it 95? Yes. Yes, the Sugarland 95. So this was people in a similar situation. I think it was actually prisoners though, not kids in a reform school that were just murdered, worked to death, and buried in mass graves in Sugarland, Texas, which is right down the street from where I live. Um, this is kind of akin to that. It really goes into something really dark places like that where these kids, a lot of them were just murdered. Um, they kind of point to them having more like darker things happen to them, like being used as bait for alligators, like terrible, terrible things happening to these kids. Uh, I I was really, really enticed by this movie. I will say this is my pick for. I don't know if I already said it, but this is my pick for picture of the year. This movie was that good. Might even be on my list of favorite movies of all time. Um, when I get into like what I really liked about this movie, the movie starts right, and it's in this first person POV, and obviously it starts with Elwood as a child, and you're watching it, and I'm like, this is a really interesting way to capture childhood. Like you're seeing it through the eyes of a child. The way that they view things. I thought that was like this really interesting. I'm assuming at some point gonna go back to or go to a third person POV, and it never did, and I just loved that. Such a strong directorial choice, and for me at least, I was reading a lot of people didn't like it, but for me it paid off so well. Excuse me. Um, Such a strong choice, and I loved that it never really went to any other POV. Obviously, it switches first person POVs between characters. Oh, excuse me, a few times. I need some water. Don't have any. I should have grabbed some water before I started this. I knew I was gonna be talking for like an hour. Um, But yeah, such a strong choice, and I really, really loved it for that. For me, it felt, of course, all films are art, right? Art. I mean, film is a form of art and expression. This just felt so much more like an art piece to me than any of the other movies on this list. And if I had any complaints about this, we just have to be that sometimes the lead actor that played Elwood sometimes felt a little flat, but so many other things in this movie like are that much more better, much more great than that, that it just doesn't really matter to me in the end. Like I didn't really care about it. Like it, not to say that I ignored it per se, but I just didn't really change how I felt about it. Um, the twist at the end was so amazing. I honestly didn't see it coming. Apparently, it was a little more obvious for some people. Maybe I wasn't paying attention to it in that sense, but when the twist happens at the end, I mean, the ending just it brought me to tears. It was so beautiful and sad and tragic and just amazing. I love this movie. Honestly, I can't wait to watch it again. I told my wife she has to watch it with me. I think she would like it. And I want everyone to watch this movie. Like, please watch this movie. It is so good. Um, for me, this is an absolute 10 out of 10 movie, 100%. We're getting towards the end, guys. We're almost there. We got two more reviews left. Um, next we have The Substance. Uh, The Substance is about an older actress who was famous as she was younger, mid 20s probably, and up to the point that she's in her, I think she's about 50 at the start of the movie, and the way it's about how women are treated in Hollywood. You know, she starts getting like they want to replace her, they want to get rid of her, and because of her age, even though she's still an absolutely gorgeous woman, they start seeing her as ugly, old in the way. And so she ends up trying the substance. It's this thing, this like I don't want to say meal plan, but I wanted to say meal plan, but it's like this medicine thing formula that creates a younger version of yourself from you, and the caveat being that you have to switch back and forth between your old normal self and your younger self every 7 days. And of course, if she just followed the rules and did that every 7 days, there wouldn't really be much of a movie here. But because she doesn't, this is the movie, and this is what happens when you don't follow the rules of the substance. Um, I had no idea. I had seen some stuff about this. Obviously it was really popular. I had seen clips from it here and there, without any context. So I wasn't really sure what I was watching or what I was getting into. I had no idea there was so much body horror in this. It really felt like I was watching a Cronenberg film, especially towards the end. Um, I would say like at the end of this, when they have the transformation, the big transformation, it really felt like The Fly, and it almost has a lot of the same aspects of The Fly, right? Like someone who wants to enhance themselves, they get this enhanced version and they don't want to go back to their old self. You know, it doesn't have that necessarily crazy aspect of, from The Fly where like he wants everyone to fucking do this, but it still has that aspect of I want I want to I don't want to stop being this greater version of myself, and that is what leads into using a substance wrong, and then you just have bad things happen. Um, I think both the leads did a really amazing job here. Demi Moore, I mean, this has to be different than anything that she's ever done before, and she just absolutely killed it. A lot of the body acting, the facial acting, so much. She absolutely killed it. And I'm gonna go ahead and say this movie is fucking gross. This is a gross movie, but I love that. It was amazing seeing all the gross things happen. The movie is actually super absurd. Of course, like it has the plot premise of this substance makes a younger version of you happen, which is completely not possible, right? But and it's one of those movies where which and I love this about this is that you kind of just have to be along for the ride and keep following it and hope that that there's a payoff because it felt like an old movie in it like a 1980s movie in that sense where you're like, all right, the premise is crazy, doesn't make any sense, no way this is happening, but I'm along for the ride, right? um I love this just as much as Anora. Like for me, those two movies could have won film of the year. I won't say Nickel Boys could have because I think the first person was a little too jarring. I think that while I thought it was beautiful, I think it's really polarizing for some others. Um, you either love it or hate it. This one, I really felt like it was just as good as Anora in that sense. You know, like it was just as good as a movie. And I think both of them really were equal footing for being able to win and just how good they were. Um, but I think the reason this one didn't win is because it was too weird. You know, Anora is much more set in reality than this movie. Uh, you know, I think yeah, I don't think the Academy was ready to give this movie an Oscar. Um, I think they could have really changed things up by giving this an Oscar and giving precedent for weird, fun movies to be, more popular. Because this movie is so weird and so fun. Like this was the most fun movie that out of any of the movies that I watched for this. Um, the ending for this was absolutely insane. It's like it's like it didn't know when to end, but in a good way. Like you thought this was the ending, like oh, it can't get much worse than this, and then something else happened. You're like, oh my god, okay, so it can get worse, and then something else would happen, and you like you just kept going. You're like, how much worse can this get? Like not that the movie's bad, but how much worse can this scenario get? And it was batshit insane, but I loved every minute of that ending. I mean, it was so crazy. I mean, you literally get into this crazy bloodbath of an ending, and it's like, yeah, there's no way that it could get crazier, and then it just does. Um, Overall, a really good film that I never got bored with. Had me literally jumping out of my seat out of like horror and disgust and literally screaming at my TV like, "What the fuck? Why are you doing this? Why is this happening in front of me right now?" But I loved it. 8 out of 10 for me. Really, really, really good movie. I was very pleasantly surprised by this. I loved this. Um, the last movie we'll be reviewing today is Wicked. Um, and honestly, I don't have a lot to say about Wicked. I had never seen the play. Okay, well, I'll get into the storyline. The Wicked is about the Wicked Witch of the West, Elphaba, as she's named in the movie or in the play. Um, Kind of starts off, with her dying, right, and he goes back in time to tell her story, how she got to where she is, how she became so wicked, right? And that's pretty much about and how she meets Galinda and they become friends at the beginning. Uh, yeah, and this is part one. If you didn't know that, this is a part one. There's gonna be another one, part two. I've never seen the play, so I have no idea what happens after this. I have no idea where they could even go. I really felt like this was the whole movie. Like this was the whole story for me. I didn't really see like where they can go that will fill a whole other movie. I'm sure there is though. I'm sure there is a lot more story to this. I don't know what though. I did know some of the songs from this, like Popular, uh, Defying Gravity, like those really, really popular songs that you just hear, or at least I did. um, I will say a lot of people were talking bad about Cynthia Revo in this. I think I think that's a lot of racism. She does a really good job in this movie. I really think she carried this hard. Um, but Ariana Grande also did a really good job. I think it has a lot to do with sexism. People hating on this because it's a two female lead movie. I think they both did amazing. Um, for me, the movie itself was fine. I mean, it wasn't the best movie I'd ever seen. Wasn't the worst. I did like it. Um, I will say it felt. Uh, this was the only movie that I watched in this set of movies that I had to pause it and come back later. Might have been because I was just tired, but at the same time, I felt the same way during the Substance, and I pushed through it. I was able to push through it because of how interesting it got. This one, there was a lot of like, not necessarily dragging storyline, but uh, I don't know, just some things weren't as interesting as others, like the whole thing against animals and stuff. Like, I was just wasn't as intrigued by it. Um, I didn't, like I said, I don't really have any complaints about it per se, but it also didn't like blow me out of the water. Um, Thought the ending was really good. I thought, the whole defying gravity scene was really amazing. Um, I'm interested to see where it goes from there, but I'm not really sure what happens next or what could even happen next. Like I said, it just felt like a whole story, which I guess I can see why they did two-parter, and maybe it'll pay off when you watch the second part. Um, but yeah, I don't really have too much to say about this movie. I know what kind of anticlimactic way to end the reviews here, but going in alphabetical order, so this was the last one. Um, I did it. It was good. Wasn't terrible. I would have watched it again too. I'd watch it with some friends. Um, 5 out of 10 for me. You know, not amazing, not bad, average, definitely average. Um, let's see. That was all 10 reviews. We really got through 10 reviews here today. Um, Next week will be much more of a return to form with a video included. Uh, Next week we'll have 3 reviews again, like normal. I watched Mickey 17. I wanted to include Mickey 17 here, but I feel like it would just be too long of an episode. Because I watched it actually last week. So when I like premiere day, I watched it. So we'll do Mickey 17 next week. I'm watching Invincible season 3 right now. I should be finished with it either today or next couple days or so. So that'll be part of it too. I'll do Invincible part 2 or Invincible season 3, and then the Lynchathon will continue. I think next one is Lost Highway that I'm watching. Still haven't watched it. So yeah, that'll be the next episode. Those 3 reviews. Um, that being said, I hope you guys like the video portion of this. It's still ever evolving. Like I think you saw at least one time where a couple times where I might have changed my my Zoom. We're still getting everything laid down, but this is pretty much what it's gonna be. Uh, Want to add some things in the background, of course, but I just wanted to start this so I can get it going. I really appreciate you if you watched all 50 minutes of this. If you listened to all 50 minutes of this, I really love that. Thank you so much. That's all I have for you today. My name is Joshua Guerrero, and this has been the Interview Cast.